The following report contains some disturbing images.
In a country not short on atrocities, this is probably the worst one since Saddam Hussein fell in 2003. The pictures proudly posted by ISIS on Twitter show Iraqi army soldiers being taken off to execution. The Iraqi army thinks the pictures are genuine, but they haven't been verified independently. The bloodletting doesn't stop. Here in central Baghdad today, a man wearing a suicide vest, quite possibly a sympathizer with ISIS, walked through this busy street market and blew himself up. 8 others died, many were injured. When we got there, it was eerily silent.
Until just a few hours ago, this was a typical Baghdad side street full of stalls selling things. Now, well, you can see there's just clothes. There are the remains of dead bodies still down by my feet here, and the gutters are still red with blood. But this sort of thing happens almost every day somewhere in Iraq and scarcely noticed by the outside world.
How did all this start? Many people in the West blame the invasion of Iraq in 2003 by the Blair-Bush alliance. Sunnis here say it's because the Iraqi government has been relentlessly Shiite in recent years and has excluded them. Tony Blair himself is unrepentant.
What we underestimated about Iraq, Afghanistan, about the whole of the region is that once you remove the dictatorship, then out comes this tribal, ethnic, and above all religious tension, and then you're engaged in a different type of struggle against that.
The type of war we saw in 2003 got rid of the dictator who had held the different religious and ethnic groups together by sheer ferocity. Without Saddam, sectarianism had free reign, not only in Iraq, but in Syria and across the region. And now the American and British troops have gone, the Iraqi government has to face an extremist Sunni uprising on its own.
If in Syria and Iraq there is a Sunni extremist entity with ISIS in charge that carves out a place for itself, it will be the great irony of the modern era. President Bush said he wanted to go into Iraq to fight terrorism. There was no terrorists. There are now.
Security in the streets here is intense. The Iraqi army received good training and good equipment from the US and Britain, but the events of the past week have shown that the Iraqi government still seems to need help.
Intervention is tough. Partial intervention is tough. Non-intervention is also tough. But the best policy for us is to realize that whatever form of intervention we choose, it's going to be difficult, but it's better than the alternative. We have to look at Syria and Iraq and the region in context. We have to understand what's going on there, and we have to engage. But it does mean that we actively try and shape this situation with our allies in the region, and don't believe that if we just wash our hands of it and walk away, then the problems will be solved.
As today's bombing showed, yet again, this country has been horribly damaged over the years. But the overthrow of Saddam, dangerous though he was, did remove the one brutal force which used to hold Iraq together. John Simpson, BBC News, Baghdad.